Well, I don't know about you all, but as soon as that third goal went in, I knew that we would be here for yet another overtime. Welcome to Game Over Toronto. My name is Lauren. On the other handsome side of the screen is handsome Harnish Patel. Harnish, this is the third game over in a row that has happened with me on it where the Leafs have lost in overtime. So is it me that's the problem, or is it the Leafs not showing up again on time until the third
We
period?
yeah, I was gonna say, can we even say they didn't show up? They somehow managed to get a point out of this game, which is even crazier. Uh, how were they down 5-0 against the Blue Jackets? And then when I was ready to call it quits and be like, listen, I gotta get a sick day from game over. I am not coming on the show today. And then somehow they managed to come back 5-0 as soon as I was like typing up the email to Andrew. I don't know how this happened. But of course, like Leafs fashion losing an OT. God damn it, man. They were so close. They were so
I
close.
know. I know. I was wearing a different shirt until about 6 minutes ago. I was actually wearing like the Johnny Toronto shirt, but then Austin Matthews fights back to get overtime happen for us. I had to throw the Poppy shirt on, the Joe Ferguson classic.
A
Uh,
fantastic shirt, by the way.
Thank you. You complimented me on it before the show, and it's just making my hair floop extra hard. So let's talk about that, shall we? Where do you want to start? Do you want to talk about all of the terrible goals that the Leafs let in, or how a lot of them should have been saved by Samsonov, or do you want to just go right to the fact that once again the Leafs somehow managed to scrape a point out of a game that they should probably have lost, even though they fought back?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we can group a lot of these goals together because a lot of them were very, very similar in how
Mm-hmm.
they managed to screw the pooch, right?
Yeah.
The first couple of goals, like Line and Johnson, right? They scored early on,
Yep.
and defensive breakdowns, and
Yep.
all of them in the back of behind the net,
Bad
just
giveaways.
throwing passes out to God knows who, right?
Mm-hmm.
Domi's turnover.
Oh, it
Um,
was so bad.
what is he doing there, right? And then the next goal by Johnson, Riley, a blind pass. Just I just don't understand what they were doing. All you need to do is look up, see if there's anybody that you're throwing the damn pass to,
Make sure no one is going to intercept that pass
right?
and then
But
execute.
no,
Yeah.
no.
It was definitely troubling to watch right from the first 5 minutes of the game. I mean, well, let's preface this by saying we are aware of the fact that most of the Leafs to some degree are either sick or hurt right now.
Mhm.
Not that that should be an excuse, but from the first 5 minutes of the game, they did not look like the same team that played against the New York Rangers the other night
Yeah.
on Tuesday. Their passes were bad. Their pass decision making was bad. Their execution was bad. Their zone pressure was bad. Them in their own
Hmm.
end was bad. The
Hmm.
first 49 minutes, it was like just a wet fart hockey game from the Leafs.
Oh yeah.
Just it was unlucky goals, it was bad passes, it was interceptions, it was just horrific turnovers. The fact that the Leafs were able to not be scored on by Adam Fantilli is probably their biggest success from the
Oof.
game.
Yeah. And it's funny because like in between the two goals, they probably could, in between their two first goals, they probably could have had another as well.
Yeah.
Sammy and Benoit giveaway behind the boards again leads to another high scoring chance. Sammy saves that one of a couple saves that he had on the night. Let's be honest, did not have a good night. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, the notes that I have for that period was the Leafs defense are being way too cute. They're giving the Blue Jackets way too much space. I like there's no pressure. They're giving them a complete open lane to get into the net or into the zone, and they're putting no pressure on them at all. It was just really really weird to see. And yeah, like you said, a lot of them are sick. I mean, our defense has been completely destroyed. Let's be honest here. And this is also their third game in 4 days. These guys are tired. These guys
Yeah.
are burned out. And realistically, we probably could have seen, I guess their tiredness or their lack of energy in the last game against the Rangers. But no, today we saw it here, and two periods where they played horribly, and then somehow they managed to mount a comeback in the third. Um, yeah, they're sick, they're tired. but there's no excuse. They were being way too cute
Yeah.
on defense.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't know how many times the Blue Jackets got the puck, and like Riley and Brody specifically in the first period were
Oh yeah.
giving them like 10, 15, 20 feet. Like, just, excuse me, sir, let me roll out the red carpet for you. Like, basically took their keys and gave them a valet ticket for later. Like, just completely gave up the zone, and it led to so
Hmm.
many opportunities that even though the Blue Jackets are one of the bottom teams in the league right now, they're still a professional hockey team, and they're still going to be able to capitalize on a lot of those chances. And they did, especially when you have a goalie that, even though he had a shutout the other day, has had some confidence issues, has had some illness issues, has had some injury issues, and they were able to capitalize. And the Leafs, it took the Leafs 40 minutes to stop the bleeding.
Hmm.
40
Hmm.
minutes to stop the bleeding. Like the first two goals, the shots were 10-5 13 minutes in for the Blue Jackets. And
Yeah.
that's, even though there has been games where, even in recent memory where the Leafs have been limited to shots, they're still making good on their opportunities, and they're making better decisions with the puck. And tonight, the first 40 minutes, it was just not there. It was like all of them were, when your TV lags behind by like half a second and the audio is off, but they're talking wrong? It's like a bad ventriloquist actor. That's what it felt like tonight for the first 40 minutes. It's one of those games where if I wasn't watching tonight, I would have probably changed the channel.
Oh, 100%. I was talking to you about this at the beginning, before we got live or before we went live.
Yep.
And after the fourth goal, I was like, there's no way. Like, just pack it up, mercy rule, get us out of there.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm watching the remainder of this game.
Yep.
Um, and can we talk about Brody a little bit? Because I feel
Yeah.
like the last couple of games, especially, Brody's had some really bad defensive plays, which led to either goals or high scoring chances. And it's purely that he just like lets off a little bit
Hmm.
on a guy that's making or pressure or enter in the zone or whatever, and he gives them an open path. Like, what is going on with that? In their fourth goal, I think it was
Chinnikov scored.
Chinikov. Yeah, he's the one who scored that. It
Yep.
was, again, Brody just does a horrible job of putting any pressure on him at all and gives him a clear path and an uncontested shot. And the last game against the Rangers, I can't remember the exact play, but there was a similar play that happened where Brody's just put in no pressure out to
Hmm.
box anyone out of our anyone out at all, like even in front of the net or nothing. What is going on with this guy?
I don't know. I don't know. And that's the scary part, is that for some reason, Brody hasn't been as good as he has been in recent years. He
Yeah.
just hasn't been good. And I don't know. I don't know what the problem is. I don't know if it's injury. I don't know if it's sickness. I don't know if it's in his head. I don't know what it is. But like, my goodness, it's hard to watch right now. He's just not playing as good as he has been. He's not doing like the L1R1 slide. It's just not happening. It's just not happening. And I don't, maybe it's the fact that they're having to lean on him so much. It I don't know if the Leafs even have the answer. Is it just they're putting
Mhm.
him in too many high pressure situations because they don't have enough good, like, regular time defensemen playing right now?
Mhm. I mean, I don't have the answer. I'm looking at the stats here tonight, right? The Riley Brody pairing, right? They led obviously the Leafs in their time on ice, right? But their goals against, expected goals against, was dramatically worse than all the other lines combined, right? Or not combined, but all the other lines as well. So clearly something is not working out with them, and maybe it's the fact that they just have to get relied on a lot more because there's been so many injuries, and because we're playing a lot of guys that really don't have a lot of experience, right? Now hopefully that changes when we get some of the guys back soon, but there's no guarantee for that. I mean, we look at Sammy, who we thought maybe games, he just needs some time and get some games under his belt, and maybe he can turn his season around, but clearly it hasn't happened up to this point, and we're almost halfway through the season as well.
Yeah, it has not. Samsonov, even though he had a good game the other day and did get the shutout, he was really fighting it tonight. And like, coming into the night again, before the stream started, we were talking about this, and we're gonna talk about Samsonov, I think, probably more after we actually talk about the game. But he, even when Martin Jones played the other day, it he just looks so flustered and so panicked all the time. kind of troubling to watch. Um, and it's tonight was the first game where I looked at it and I was like, are the Leafs bad or is Samsonov bad? Like
Hmm.
like tonight was the first game where I was like, I think maybe goaltending is the problem here with Sammy, and that it's not just like, oh, he just needs a couple of games. Like tonight was the first game where I was like, oh, this is really bad.
Yeah, yeah. And the problem with the Leafs right now is we're kind of stuck with him for a while, right? Wall's injured. I don't know when he's gonna come back. And regardless, we still need a second goaltender in case something does happen, right? Wall's injury, the high ankle sprain. I was talking about it when I believe it was the game after it happened, but it's a similar injury that he had last season, which kept him out of training camp. Right, he was coming back from an injury, and then he has another ankle sprain. Now, is that something that's maybe a recurrent issue? Maybe there's something going on there. Maybe he needs some more time to get fully healthy. Right, I'm not sure, but clearly. You need to have some kind of backup. You can't just rely on Martin Jones. As much as I love the guy, you can't rely on him to be your number two goalie, right? So at this point, if Sammy's play doesn't turn around, we might have to be in the market for a goaltender, which we weren't really expecting, right? We were hoping that we can spend that money towards fixing up the blue line. But I don't know, Shrelivin might be forced to change path, right? Like what's the save percentage right now in the season? It's horrible,
884.
right? Disgusting.
Sammy
Yeah.
is 884 with the 3.29 GAA, which is
Oh
only gonna
God.
get worse after tonight.
Yeah.
Right? Like it was it's becoming up to the point where it's like even on games where they get a win, it's in spite of Samsonov. It's
Hmm.
not because of him. Like don't get me wrong, the shootout the other day or the shootout, the shutout the other day was still impressive. Sure. But like Garrett Sparks had a shutout. And is he still in the NHL? Like no. And
Hmm.
now it's to the point where okay, well if you have to do like a goalie swap, who would want Sammy right now? He's not playing well. He's allowing more goals in than they should. And in a game where, in games where they've, allowed the other team to come back, like 4 goals should be enough to win you a game. And recently it seems like it hasn't been, regardless of who's in net. Now, I think
Hmm.
obviously that some of the contributing factors to that are the fact that our defense is scraped so thin, right? It's definitely a contributing factor. But at the same time, that's the gig. Like, kind of to some degree, sorry, that's what you signed up for. And so it's it's worrying about the fact that it's no longer going to be like an exchange for goalies. It's going to cost us. And is it now becoming a conversation because we know that realistically the Leafs are only going to be able to make maybe one really good trade. Now is it okay, well now we trade for Brandon Tanev, or do we have to trade for a better goalie? Because I don't feel great about the fact that going into the playoffs, Samsonov is going to be our backup. Not with how he's played so far.
Exactly. That's the problem. And Trulman is not. He's really gonna have to earn his keep today or this season. Like right now, his pickups or whatever he's done, he's kind of been eh. Like Bertuzzi has looked all right, but I mean, as of recently, that's another guy who really hasn't been putting up any points, and is kind of on a dry spell. Domi bad turnovers. He hasn't looked like he has last season.
No.
And then Klingberg, obviously, he's been put on LTIR. He didn't look good when he was on the Leafs anyways. If whatever trade he makes next does not work, that's gonna be a bad look for him and a bad start in the office. And it's gonna take a lot of the confidence that Leafs fans and honestly even upper management has in him like out, right? He's gonna look differently. He's gonna get looked at differently if he fails another trade. Um, but we might be getting a little bit of money on the books, I guess, maybe if with that Ryan Reeves injury.
Yeah, let's talk
That
about
was a
that,
nasty
shall
one,
we?
eh?
Yeah, and it's funny, eh? It looks kind of innocuous at first glance. He goes into the boards. It looks like he went up like with his toe up, and it looks like he stretched his ankle back. I don't know if you've ever
Yeah.
done that. Like,
Oh, I have an
ah,
Achilles injury right now, so
oh
I know it's
gosh,
no fun.
I do not envy you that. Um, it didn't look fun. He needed to be helped off the ice, and it kind of looked like he sort of fell down the slant.
I was gonna ask about that. It did look like that,
It
right?
did look like that. Now, I know that in previous years, the Leafs do have stairs there. It looks like from the pictures, though, they might have replaced it with a ramp. So
I
maybe
have
at best
no
he like
idea.
slid down. Because if you didn't have a bad ankle injury before, you just tweaked it, but then you fall down the stairs, might exacerbate an existing problem.
Yeah, that was no fun. Let's just say that was scary, and the way he crashed into it with his knees taking the full brunt of the force, ouch.
Yeah.
That sucks. No matter how he was playing or whatever feelings you have for Reeves, you hate to see a guy get injured like that. Hopefully he makes a speedy recovery. Hopefully he's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those people that are like, oh, Leafs get away with putting more money on LTIR, I don't think Ryan Reeves signed here for 3 years so that he could go on LTIR.
Yeah.
Just to put that to rest before we get there. Let's talk really quickly about the Leafs, the fact that they do make a comeback in the third period. William Nylander getting the scoring going for us once again, is quickly becoming the person that seems to be able to, along with Austin Matthews, be the player that pulls the team into the game. Everything happened very quickly from there. I mean, 38 seconds into the period, it was a good way to cleanse the slate, right? You wipe the slate clean and you avoid getting shut out, which is delightful. Mitchell Marner with the between the legs stick, 5-hole shot on Merzlikins at 3 minutes and 49 seconds into the period to put the Leafs up, only behind by 3. Can't believe I have to say that. A couple minutes later, the Columbus Blue Jackets took another penalty. McCabe finally gets a goal from the blue line, his first of the season. The Leafs only have 7 goals from their defense this year. They're in 30th in the league. Goals by defense.
What's new? I mean, we've been talking about that for a while, right? Their defense just does not contribute.
Yeah. It was bad, but nice to see him get a goal. You all right there?
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's okay. How dare you have bodily functions? How
too
dare you
excited
have
on
bodily functions? And then, of course, the Leafs finally pull the goalie, Austin Matthews, from William Nylander. The no-look pass over to Austin Matthews, one-timer with 1:15 to go. And then 31 seconds later, Austin Matthews once again from William Nylander and John Tavares to tie the game. 8 straight games with a point. They head into overtime and, of course, cannot capitalize despite one more time hitting a post. This is how many games in a row has it been since the Leafs have taken a too many men penalty? What is it, like 4 now?
It's been a while. I completely forgot about that, eh? At one point in the season, I mean, I was counting down the damn games that it was happening on. Those are those like the days since what was it? Days since injury or days since like incident shit. It was like happening every other
the
game.
workplace injury sign.
Yeah. It was happening every other game. I haven't seen something bad recently, which is a positive sign. The moment I stopped paying attention to it or I stopped noticing that stat, right?
Nice to see for sure. I mean, listen, the Leafs, you got to give credit where credit's due, right? They do the thing again where they somehow mount the comeback. I was not aware of the fact that Columbus is minus 23 in the third period.
The minus 28 now after this game.
Damn.
Bad. Yeah, bad. It's hilarious. They pull up the stat and it was like a +2 or something in the first, like -3 or something in the second, and then it goes all the way down to -23. What is going on with that team?
I don't know.
That has to be one of the craziest stat lines of all time. Like we talked about the Leafs just choking stuff up. Oh my God, Columbus is in a whole new territory.
whole new world.
They're on a new planet.
A
Yeah.
whole new world.
It could always be worse. That's what I'm getting from that stat.
Yes, yeah, and it's kind of funny. The Blue Jackets feel almost a little bit reminiscent of like the Flames last season, where they would have leads and then just totally cough them up. Don't get me wrong, the Leafs do it all the time too, but this season they seem to be more in the trend of actually being the ones coming back, which is nice. Of course, the unfortunate part of that is you have to go down by a number of goals to do that. Can we talk about the fact that the Leafs did score 5 goals in 20 minutes? The last time the Leafs came back from 5 goals behind to tie the
Hmm.
game was December 30th, 1989. Taylor
Yeah.
Swift was 17 days old. Just saying.
Oh, damn. That's a great stat. 7 days old.
You're welcome.
Okay.
17, 17.
Oh, 17,
Yeah.
sorry.
God, Harnish. Don't you know Taylor Swift? No, and I was a year old the last time that happened. They showed the highlight on TV, and I was like, wow, that's rough. It's unfortunate that the Leafs have to dig themselves out of such a hole. Obviously, it's great to see, right? I'm wearing an Austin Matthews shirt for a reason, and I love this team, and I love that they made a game of it, and I'm glad that the people that spent hard-earned money to go there and see that game are able
Mhm.
to not see them get shut out. They do fight back. They do put up, their dukes at the end there, but it just felt, not to quote JoJo, but just too little too late.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. How many fans do you think left the building after that second period, though? How many of them actually saw
It looked
that
it looked
come
pretty
back?
empty. I'm not gonna lie.
Right?
Looked pretty
Yeah, I
empty.
saw, and our very own Armand was at the game. I saw him post something on Twitter when we were down 4-0, just in despair.
Yeah.
He had a fun game, I guess. They managed to make a game out of it. They managed to get a point out of it. Um, but yeah, do you think that the Leafs are, I don't want to say it because they lost the game at the end of the day,
Say it,
but do you
say
think
it,
they
say
have
it.
some kind of clutchness in them, huh? Something, just something to make them come back. I know that they
It
shouldn't be, they shouldn't put them put themselves in a position to have to come back. But the fact that they have been doing it, isn't that kind of cool?
Yes, it is. It is. It is. And it's nice to see that they can do it at 5-on-5 and that they can do it, that they're making good on pulling the goalie. Last year,
Yeah.
they were not good with an empty net. And this year, even though it means that they're down by a bunch of goals, it's surely compelling to see them be able to actually fight back and not just roll over and say sorry. Right?
Hmm.
Like there is some sort of fight left in this, even when they are down by so many. Like, listen, we could go back. You can go back and watch so many game overs last season where the Leafs go down by a bunch of goals and they just stop playing, and it's
Hmm.
so bad to watch. Like this season, I don't know. I mean, knock on wood, right? Knock on wood. Everybody, stick taps. You're in the wood in the chat. Um, it's unfortunate that it has to go that far, but it's kind of nice to see. It's kind of nice to see
Right?
that they're
Yeah,
being
they're
able to do
never
it.
out of it. They're never
No,
out.
it
And
feels
even,
kind of Edmonton Oilers esque in that way. You
oh
know,
God.
no
Yeah,
lead
if
is
you,
safe against them because they can just come around and score 5 goals in 20 minutes.
yeah, they're also on a heater. It's a, I'm scared seeing that team. That team is nuts. But yeah, like if we look back at like at this game, right? In that third period, they got five. They probably could have gotten six or seven or eight. Like they had a ton of crazy scrambles in front of
Yep.
the net where we were one tip away from Bertuzzi like scoring. We were a backhand away from Robertson getting a goal as well. Like they had so many other chances as well. Uh, it sucks that they dug themselves into a hole and they had to make it a miraculous a historic comeback to win the game, but it's cool to see that they never are truly out, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that is really important because you have to have some kind of, it puts some fear, I guess, in the other team. Like, hey, if we let off, like this team has every opportunity and every chance to come back, and they goddamn might will. Like they might
Yep.
do it, right? Um yeah, so it's really fun to see it. Like even like the last game, look at the Rangers, like we were down 4-1, and I was so scared. The least secure score line ever, right? For Leafs. And they end up finishing the game with 7 goals, like just coming into the third period and saying, no,
Yep.
this is not gonna happen. We're not gonna let you come back, right?
Yeah.
Uh it sucks that they can't get it done today, but it's a good sight, I guess. And maybe once we get more guys in, and obviously when we're not playing 3 games in 4 days, right? And they're not like completely drained of all their energy, maybe on another situation, they actually do come back and win the whole thing, right?
Yeah, for sure. And moreover to your point, the whole 3 games in 4 days thing is relevant because before that, the Leafs were probably had the softest start to the season that they've had in years.
Hmm.
And other teams across the league have way more games played than we do because we've had so many times so far in the season, which is baffling considering it's only halfway through December, where they're going like 2 or 3 days without playing games. The whole Sweden trip is like 2 weeks where all they did was play 2 games. And so for
Yeah.
them to turn around and play 3 games in 4 nights, even though 2 of them weren't against teams that are super known for their offensive prowess, they're still good teams. Like the Islanders are still a good team, and the Rangers are top of the
Hmm.
Metro. And so, especially with Nyes out, with some of the injuries that we have, like I'm not giving them a pass by any means. And we're gonna talk
Hmm.
about Sammy next, I think here.
Hmm.
But it's not all on your goalie because you've left multiple goalies hanging out to dry.
Yeah.
So we do need to kind of address the decision making when it comes to passing. The Leafs need to look at all of those things. They need to go back and look at the game tape and say, who the fuck were you passing to? Because I know if you're here and watching this, if you're listening to this, if you're sitting in your car going to work tomorrow, you were sitting on the couch like the rest of us being like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Who is that to? And
Hmm.
that's something that in the games that the Leafs have lost has plagued them so badly. And so when we see games like against the Rangers the other night, where even though they were down, they were playing really well, really connected, really strong hockey. It's like that's what is supposed to be. And so when they play games like this, it's like, what the fuck is happening here, boys? Like, you're
Hmm.
at home now. This shouldn't be how it happens. It should be that you come home, you get some home cooked meals, you get some medicine, you get some, a good night's sleep in your own bed, and maybe it helps the illness. But obviously, I think low key Matthew Nyes being out isn't helping. Although it doesn't seem to have stopped the top line from scoring, so maybe that's not a great excuse either.
Yeah, to the point with with Nyes, Noah Gregor is a great player. He
Sure.
just I don't think is a great fit for that line
No.
specifically. So yeah, like Matthews and Marner kind of have to pull their weight and earn, or I guess show why they're getting paid all the big bucks and why they're considered two of the best players in the entire league and make that line work, which they kind of did today.
Yep.
But yeah, to your point about them, the Leafs, I guess fallen asleep or not playing great hockey throughout an entire game, that's a big concern, right? The last game against the Rangers, the reason why we I guess like got scared was because that second period they took completely off and they got killed
Shelled.
on that second period.
Yep.
And then today we come back and they get killed the first two periods, and then they have to make that miraculous comeback in the third period. That is concerning because when you're playing against great teams, uh that doesn't happen, or they don't give you an opportunity to do that, right? You're playing against Columbus here today. Columbus, although yeah, like the Leafs, we talked about it, 3 games in 4 days, blah blah blah, whatever. Columbus is not a good team. They're in the bottom half of the standings. They're 27th right now.
Yep.
They are absolutely not a good team,
Yep.
and you should be winning that game
Yep.
no matter what,
Yep.
regardless of what happens. You got your Timbits from the dads the last game with that win against the Rangers. Fuel yourselves up, like get some play with some passion out there, right? So it's gonna be interesting to see what they do against really really good teams, and even like the last game against the Rangers, I think Shesterkin had a pretty bad game. Like he clearly was not playing up to his standard, right? Now, is that the Leafs offense just bringing him down, or like forcing him to have a bad game? I don't know, but you can't be playing. You can't be taking periods off. You can't be taking large portions of the game off and then expect to win it late. That's just not how the game works. So hopefully they do fix that. But yeah, I don't know.
The last thing I want to say before we get to the whole Samsonov discussion is just given how the Leafs play against teams that they should completely dummy,
Hmm.
right? If we look at the Islanders, if we look at the Blue Jackets, if we look at the fact that we've lost to Chicago this year,
Two
um,
times,
yeah,
including
uh,
the 4-1 loss.
yep. I was trying to be nice. I,
without without two of their best players.
yep. I
Let's.
I am just relieved that we are not in the Metro because the Leafs would be completely wrecked. Like it's a good thing that we're in a division that has so many good teams because against good teams we play great.
Mhm,
Right?
mhm.
But the Metro this year is not good and we have been even worse against them than they have been, which is again just baffling. So, on the topic of baffling subjects, let's talk about the person that unfortunately couldn't get us to smile today, Ilya Samsonov. As I said earlier in the stream, if you're just joining us, welcome to Game Over. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. It really helps. Um, it's is when was the last time you watched Samsonov and felt the way you do tonight?
Um, like he played really bad. I
Yeah,
mean, almost all of his games this season. Let's be honest. I'm
right.
sorry, but
No, no,
let's be
no.
honest here.
That's what I was hoping you would say.
Yeah, he has played horrendous his all of the games that he's played. I mean, not to the point that he gave up 5 goals in 2 periods. That was freaking insane.
Yeah,
But for a guy last season who was playing great hockey and he could pull like a rabbit out of the hat, like a save out of thin air, like a really really good save. He's hasn't had that in God knows how long. Like I can't remember the last time he made a fantastic save where I'm like, okay, that's probably a goal if
he's not
Samsonov
there.
doesn't just do well. And a lot of the issues that I'm seeing is positional issues. Like it's not even that he's getting beat or like our defense, yeah, they were non-existent today, but there was like one goal in particular where he just doesn't do a good job of shifting his body over to the side to cover up a post. And how many games have we saw that? Like I'm getting I'm getting all of that the PTSD coming in now and I'm like, holy shit. It's happened so many times this season. He doesn't shift his body fast enough and cover the post.
Yeah,
Why? And he came in today like in a couple of the saves early on were him like being calm and poised and making some nice saves. And then he just goes the other way and he's like, "No. I don't know how to play goalie again. I can't cover a post. I can't do anything." And he's on the clock. We're running out of games. We're in game 27 now. We're almost halfway through the season. He does not have a lot of time and a lot of runway to make a comeback because Tree Living, like we mentioned, might look for someone else, right?
I think at this point, to some degree, his hand is being forced because his play has not been good. And just for the record, you saying every game like that has been like that this season, I agree. Even the games that he's won, he has not played well. And
Mm-hmm.
unlike when our rookie, who is still very young in his career, plays, it is cosmically different how the team plays in front of him and how steady they are in net and how much I am unafraid when other goalies are in the net compared to when Sammy's in net. And it feels like the Leafs kind of feed off of that, off of each other, and Sammy a bit too. Earlier in the game, like the other day when he got the shutout, he was very confident moving within the blue paint of the crease. And
Mm-hmm.
tonight, the less confidence he has, the further into his goal he sinks. And like you said, not closing the holes on the post. Oh my gosh, there's so much white space there. It's crazy, crazy. It's remarkable that the Blue Jackets didn't score 7 goals tonight with how much space there was between him and the post a lot of the time. Like, it's a fucking miracle. It really is. And it's coming to a boiling point. Like, the fact that we're having a conversation regarding our highest paid goalie maybe being our third stringer compared to our rookie who's injured and Jones is like, what happened? Now, last season, like, we've known that he has up and down seasons. We knew this when we got him from the
Mm-hmm.
Caps. He has moments where he's very good, but then it's like his evil twin brother comes in and wears his uniform and he vanishes. It's crazy. And so it's like I said, it's coming to a boiling point and it's almost Christmas, man. And even though the Leafs are still fighting for a playoff spot, and they are in a playoff spot right now, if that's who we have to lean on for the next like 6 weeks while Joseph Woll gets better, I don't feel great about the fact that we are not going to be in the same position in 6 weeks than we are now because of our goaltending. And that's not
Mm-hmm.
something that can just be fixed by playing better structurally, scoring more goals, being better in the lanes. Sure, those things help, but if the Leafs have Merzlikins tonight, we probably win the game.
Hmm. Hmm. And
If
isn't that crazy?
Yes. And
Like from last season?
yes, and it's to the point where I'm like, maybe we should start considering some of these other goalies that are kind of like mid, because 884 is just not fucking good enough. It's just not. Just not good enough. You have one job, and right now you are like tied for 68th in the league. It is not good enough, and that is not a problem that can be solved. It's unfortunately one of the problems that can be solved with a single move. The other side of that is, what is the price tag of that move?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you said that 884, he's at 878 right now, by the way, after this game. Rough,
Wow.
rough, rough. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And the best part about this is listen, I came into the season, I knew Samsonov was not gonna be like he's not gonna be prime carry price for us. Like he's not supposed to be, but I was hoping that he would be at least serviceable,
Yeah.
right? Um and yeah, like
We talk about the
we
fact
we need
Peter Mrazek has a better season than he does right now.
it's so
Harnish.
bad.
Peter Mrazek.
Yeah, this is not a fun time, man. I am not happy. It's like that. I am just not okay right now.
It's
Something
the
needs
dog
to.
in the burning room. This is fine. That's what.
Yeah,
Yes,
something.
Luke
Something
Venables,
needs
bring the
to.
Hildebeest. Oh my God.
Oh,
Nick Barton does not feel that that's a good idea yet, but at this point, how bad could it be? Just the one game, just one.
yeah.
Wow, what's the worst that could happen? Come on. What happens? We lose in overtime again? Doesn't matter who's in goal for that.
And it sucks because, like, what are you gonna do to the guy? Like, I saw some comments or I saw some people tweeting out, like, pull Sammy, throw Jones in there, right? And it's like, what is that
No.
really gonna solve? He's had a horrendous like X amount of games in the season already. Like he's not gonna get better on the bench. You gotta kind of play him for him to get that confidence and for him to start playing better. So that's not gonna help.
I'm
And
glad they
I'm
didn't pull
running out
him.
of
Honestly,
yeah,
I'm glad
same.
they didn't.
I'm happy about that too. And like, I mean, he had some saves in that third, not a lot. I mean, I can't remember how many shots on goal Columbus had in that third. I don't think it was a lot by any means,
Mm-mm.
but at least he didn't let another squeaky one go in.
Yeah.
Thank God. Well, we got a point out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just sucks because like right now we were all expecting like, hey, that money that we had on LTIR, that's gonna go towards a defenseman,
Yep.
and now
Maybe
we're
not.
second guessing. And even if like we don't end up getting another goaltender or whatnot or whatever. Like we're not saying that they have to. We're just saying that this makes Tree job harder, and he has to think about that. There's more resources being put into having to think about, hey, what if our goalie tandem just isn't gonna work for us, right? And that stresses me out because you need goaltenders to win,
Yeah.
right? To make a deep run, you have to have a good tandem. You can't rely on one guy.
No, and you don't necessarily need two world beaters, right? Like, no one's saying we have
No.
to go trade everybody and try to get Vasilevsky and Hellebuck to be our 1A and 1B. But you need people that are better than 874.
Mhm.
Like, I would be, how fat and happy would we be right now if the Leafs had just that, even though this year, I know that goalie save percentage is going down and across the league it's going down, fair enough. It doesn't seem like that long ago where 906 was like, oh, he's a 906. Now I'm like, 906 sounds pretty great.
Yeah,
Rough.
exactly. It's funny because Samsonov kind of like I guess like in terms of the amount how he's like playing kind of affects him. He's very similar or it's very similar like Jack Campbell, where if you hear him after with talking to the media after like a bad game, he is so down on himself. You can tell like it affects him quite a lot.
Yeah.
And I just pulled up Jack Campbell's save percentage, and
Is
they're
it
pretty much
worse?
neck and neck. 873 versus 878. Yeah, that sucks.
Damn. So who's higher?
Maybe we could have offloaded Sammy in the offseason to the Oilers. Let them have two of our are world beaters.
With Cody Cece. Let's go. Of course, you know the worst thing is that like those motherfuckers are gonna get to like the third round with Cody Cece.
Oh man.
Fuck.
Dude, I don't know what happened to this team. I love seeing a Canadian team like go far in the playoffs, but like I
Can it not be
really
the
don't.
Oilers this time?
Yeah, yeah. Because like, dude, these guys have had all these first rounders, and the fact that they had the start that they had, oh my God. Like, can
The
you imagine?
audacity.
Yeah. And like each game that they went by losing more and more, I'm just like, all right, what are the chances we get McDavid? I'm joking.
God,
I'm
don't kill me.
joking.
All right. Well, before this devolves any further, let's get to the press conference. If you're watching, please make sure you hit like and subscribe. It really helps the stream. If you're having a good time, if you're enjoying falling into your Disney villain phase like we are tonight, please make sure you tell us one of your hockey friends about us because we would love to have you guys over. Make sure you get your questions in the chat. Let's get to some of the questions that were asked earlier. Oh, someone mentioned me in the chat. That's nice. Nice t-shirt. Oh, thanks to Lauren. I got the black version of that wonderful t-shirt. Make sure you get yours. The Audi curse is contagious. Is it sharing over to other game over hosts? As long as I don't have to do game over Calgary, we'll be fine. When was
That's a
the
good
Leafs
one.
last shutout? I think it was against Nashville. Matthew, SDPN, if Jones lets in less than 4 goals next game, does he get the start to the next game after? Let's think about that. Okay, so the Leafs play on Saturday against the Penguins. I will be
Mhm,
back over on Game Over for that. And then they
mhm,
play 2 days later on next Tuesday, once again, Tuesday game against the Rangers.
mhm.
Allegedly, that's the game where John Tavares is going to be honored for his 1,000 points. Congratulations, Captain Johnny. I think that if Saturday goes well, I think it's a conversation. I don't think it's a handout, but I definitely think that given how they played in front of Jones the other day and how even though he let in a couple of bad goals, how decent Jones ended up being, if he
Mhm.
wins the game, if he lets in like only 2 goals on Saturday, I'm fine with that. What do you
Yeah,
think?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's no harm in that, right? I feel like the way I kind of see goalies is like play whoever is hotter, right? Like last season, we kept shifting back and forth between Murray and Samsonov, being
Yes.
that number one guy. Play whoever's hotter. If Martin Jones, like, forget about the fact that he's a vet and whatever. He wasn't supposed to. He's our third liner or whatever, right? Forget about that fact. If he's playing well, put him in, right? Because who knows? Like Wall, for example, like he wasn't supposed to be in the equation last season, right? It was supposed to be Sammy and it was
Yep.
supposed to be Murray.
Yep.
But Murray looked bad. He got injured. Wall had a couple chances. He looked great. And look where we're at right now.
Yep.
I'm not saying that Martin Jones is going to be like Wall. Don't get me wrong. But if he can get us a couple wins, if he can get a couple games and play a little bit better, puts maybe hopefully light a fire under Sammy's ass, maybe get Sammy some one-on-one time with some goaltending coaches and get him to work on his game.
Yeah.
Uh, that would be fun. And just remember, keep in mind, like Boston, they're 5-4-1 now, right? In their last 10. They've kind of come down to earth. We are 4 points within first place in the Atlantic, right?
Still behind the
We're
Panthers though.
far off. Sorry?
We're still behind the Panthers.
No, we're tied with the Panthers now. We're both at
Oh,
36.
yeah, after tonight we are. I looked at the thing earlier. My bad.
Yeah, if we had a win, we would have been 3 points behind the Bruins. But yeah, I digress. We're in like shooting distance
Yeah.
with first place, and that would be a huge advantage. So let's do that. Um, and yeah, like if you're playing, if Martin Jones has a good game, playing. That's
Yeah.
long story short.
I kind of agree. SD Pin, would you be disappointed if Sammy started Saturday? I don't think he's going to. I think that's why
No.
I think that's part of the reason he wasn't pulled tonight. I think the
Mhm.
other reason is the team wasn't playing well enough around him that they felt swapping them out would make a difference.
Mhm.
Short
Yeah,
answer.
agreed.
Okay, moving on. Do you think Luke Venables, frequent flyer Luke, welcome back, Luke? Do you think illness played a part in the performance during those first 2 periods? Some of the things Keith said surrounded like sounded like things were going on behind the scenes. Yeah, it's no secret that a lot of people are sick right now. I know a lot of the people that I work with are very sick. It's kind of gone around my office. I imagine it's going around theirs too. How about you? Have been around sick people or had people sick around you, Harnish?
Yeah, my grandparents. So that's been
Oof.
not very fun. The last couple of days, like it's gone around with both of them. They're kind of getting off of it now, which is really nice. But yeah, the Leafs clearly are sick. There's a ton of guys that are sick for sure. It's getting around the locker room, and I hate to say the same thing or like sound like a broken record, but yeah, 3 games in 4 days. That makes a difference. That
Yep.
affects players. They are
With
tired.
travel.
And with travel, thank you. Yes. And you had the fathers on the father's trip or whatever, right? So clearly they probably weren't 100% focused on their recovery or whatnot. They were probably going out with their dads, taking them for dinners or whatnot. So yeah, they're tired. I don't think it's any surprise. Hopefully on Saturday they'll be better rested and they'll play better against the Penguins, but we'll see.
Kyle Dubas's Penguins. What a sentence. Yeah, I think that is probably a contributing factor. I think illness helps. I think the amount of games in days played, considering the beginning of their season, helps. I think the travel helps. I think them just not feeling very confident, and I think them losing Wool has had a teeny, maybe they would never admit it, but a teeny little couple drops in the bucket of stress on the team as well, because we don't know how long it's going to be. Although we do have some good news on an injury front, it does look like Timothy Liljegren is going to be making his return. Keith said today that he is close,
There
which
you
is
go.
great.
That's good
He
news.
did skate last weekend at the morning skate.
Mhm.
I went to the morning skate last Saturday, and he actually looked pretty good. Did not look injured. Now he was by himself on the ice with the coaches, so obviously take that with a large bucket of salt. But he didn't look like he had a bad ankle, and so it would be some good juice for the team, I think, to get somebody back finally. Let's get to maybe one or two more questions. How much of the Leafs' future would you be prepared to trade to go all in on this season?
I have my answer.
Uh, yeah. I don't want to give away anyone that's playing the World Juniors.
Yeah. Listen, man, I'm sick and tired of these rentals.
Yeah.
I don't want to see it. We've tried it. I mean last season we went completely all out. We got Ryan O'Reilly. We got
Yep.
we got all these rentals only for one
All of them
round.
to leave.
Yeah, and for one round,
Yep.
which realistically we probably shouldn't have won or didn't deserve to win. We got completely outplayed all of those games. So yeah, I'm done with the rentals. I want to see them build for the future, and that involves getting people with term and getting players that we want or are expecting to stick around for more than one season. Right? As much as I love Ryan O'Reilly, he was fantastic for us when he was here,
Yep.
but he was here for only a couple
Yep.
weeks and I would have wanted him to stay a part of the team for a long time. Clearly, his head was not in that position,
Which is
or he
fine.
didn't want to. Yeah, that's totally fine. But uh, as a Leafs fan and as for Leafs up management, I'm sure they're looking for people who want to stick around and build around, or build this team out and see this through, right?
Yeah, I agree. And not that I like complimenting the Buffalo Sabres ever. They have done a very good job in the last 2 years. Now, they're still a work in progress, mind you. But
Mhm,
all of the players that they have brought in there or have traded for are players that have outwardly said, I want to come, and that's where
mhm,
I want to play, and that's where I want to be. Now, obviously, it's a different market. So there's different things. Like, I'm sure Ryan O'Reilly looked at the Leafs and said, I could see myself re signing here. But then he's here, he spends time here, he deals with the fact that unfortunately, if you're not from here, you aren't aware of the fact that if you're a hockey player in Toronto, you can't really go anywhere peacefully. Um, that's a contributing factor. And if you don't want that life, then I totally get why you would leave. But I feel like the Leafs would maybe benefit from getting some more players that not only want to be here, but are from a market that is hockey crazy. Now,
mhm,
having said that, I don't always necessarily love trading from other Canadian markets, but it is just different. It's different if you're playing in a team that is the fifth most important team in the league, like, or the least important team in the fifth most important team in the city. Like, don't get me wrong, the Rangers are an original six team, and I got nothing respect for original six teams except Boston. But if you think about like the top three sports in the United States, it's like the Yankees, the Jets, the Giants, and then way down here is the Rangers in like 6th. So it's a different kind of existence to play for the Rangers, even though it's one of the most wealthy teams in the league. It is just different. And so I can't help but feel like, how do you work that into the trade talks, right? How do you have those conversations with other teams while having conversations with the players while not tampering?
It's a tough balance.
Yeah.
I think like realistically, you're just gonna have to try to go for someone that has term.
Yeah.
Because listen, even if they don't want to stay, at least they have years left on the contract which you can use for trades,
Yep.
right? That's kind of the only way you can kind of make things work. It's kind of like the Raptors, where the Raptors, like, they're not a desirable market at all by any means, because the cold, taxes, blah blah blah, whatever, travel. But you kind of have to work in the off season to get guys with term and then flip those guys around. Unfortunately, that hasn't been working out for the Raptors, but
Or the Blue
the
Jays.
theory, yeah. I mean, oh, don't get me on this on the Otani talk, please. Yeah, it's just that's kind of what you got to do. You just got to get people with term and then play around that, right?
Yep. I totally agree. Okay, well, do you have anything else you want to talk about? I think we could probably wrap this up. One last question. Are you excited both Minton and Cowan made it to Team Cowan at all? Obviously. Yeah.
That's gonna be exciting.
I
That's gonna be fun.
low-key would love to have like a Easton Cowan Canada jersey. That would be sweet.
That would be cool.
So let's finish the stream up. If you have been here the whole time, thank you for watching with us. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I know that Harnish and I always have a great time whenever we get to host together. There's always lots of laughs, even when the Leafs lose in overtime. Once again, listen, boys, I'm doing Game Over on Saturday. If you could get like a regulation win, I would really appreciate it, y'all. Make sure you do hit like and subscribe. Make sure you follow both of us on Twitter and SDPN if you do not already. You can find me on Twitter at Lauren in the Six. Harnish, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me Harnish_Patel 98 on Twitter.
God, I'm 10 years older than you. That hurts my soul. And I will be back on Saturday night for Game Over after the Penguins game. I hope to see you all there. Have a great Friday, everybody, and we will see you Saturday night.